Hello, I haven't been playing a lot of music lately. I've been pretty busy this past week getting the kids started in school. I was pretty sick last weekend. That's still kind of clearing up. Also, I still kind of don't have a job, so it's difficult to justify spending time on this and not that. I do have an interview coming up this week, and I've also been working on a way to generate some passive income. That is, I'm trying to make some educational videos that are like textbook supplements or some other way to capitalize on my experience in teaching. I've been spending some time trying to set that up, and actually I've come up with this format that I'm using here because I've been working so much on getting this right that I just want to make something with it. So here we go. We're going to be taking the infinite math test. The infinite math test only has 3 things that you need to know about it. First of all, there are only 10 questions. 10 questions on an infinite math test. Second thing, it's true about all tests. If you correctly answer all the questions, you get a 100%. Don't forget about that. That's going to be important later. Last of all, what are the instructions? All you have to do is, once you complete a question, it should just say whatever your score would be if you had stopped right there. All right, let's get started. We're going to go through it together. Here's what page 1 looks like. 10 questions, just like I said. Now, if there's 10 questions, each question is worth 10%, right? 1/10 of the test would be 10%. So if you just answered question number 1 and you stopped, you'd have a 10%. If you answered the first 2 questions and stopped, you'd have a 20%. Well, keep going just like this. Every question, every number corresponds to that 10th of the test that you've earned. Once you answer all 10 questions, well, you've got yourself 100%. However, this is an infinite math test, so here's the twist. Number 10 is broken down into some parts that are on the next page. So let's go to the next page. Once we complete this, we should be done, right? Well, number 10 is broken into 10 parts. If you finish number 9 and you had a 90%, that means there's only 10% left to earn. All 10% is bound up in question 10. But if question 10 is broken up into pieces, they're all going to be sharing that 10%. There's 10 parts. So if you split 10% into 10 parts, each part gets 1%. So if you answer part A of number 10, you should have a 90 plus 1%, a 91%. If you answer the second part, part B, you should have a 92%. Make sense? Continuing on, every 10th of number 10 earns you another 100th of the test, another percent. I think you can see where the twist is coming because part J is continued on the next page. Part J is split up into 10 parts. If the last question was worth 1%, because it was a 10th of a 10th, and it's split up into 10 parts, that means each part is worth a 10th of a 10th of a 10th, or a 1,000th. It is 0.1%. This can continue indefinitely. Every time you get to the last question, it's just a fake out. It's split up into 10 parts on the next page. And that's getting a little crazy. I think what this must be the actual 40th thing you actually have to fill in, but there's only 10 questions because there's only 1 through 10. It just split up into a bunch of parts. All right, so time to analyze this. Let's see what's going on. First of all, after page 1, you had 90%. After page 2, you had 99%. After page 3, it was 99.9%. You can kind of see a trend here, right? It looks like the number of 9s increases every page that you complete. If we could kind of skip forward some, after page 5, we'd have 99.999%. After page 10, that's a lot of 9s, but that's how many we would have. Continuing on page 20, that is an awful lot of 9s. All right, no, 40. Every time you add a new page, you add a new 9. Basically what that boils down to is the number of pages you've completed is the number of 9s you have in your score. Okay, time to wrap this up, drive the point home. What is your score on the infinite math test? I want you to remember, you have the same number of 9s as the number of pages you've completed. And if you complete the test, you have a 100%. If you complete the entirety of an infinite math test, how many pages have you completed? An infinite number of pages, which means you have an infinite number of 9s. That is what is meant by 0.9 repeating, an infinite number of 9s. But if you've completed the test, you have a 100%. There is no distinction, therefore, between a 99 infinite number of 9s% and a 100%.